All right, welcome back to RevOps Bennett. I am Bennett. I really appreciate you joining me for my second video here. Today we're going to be diving into the opportunity object, and what I think is really a cornerstone of that object is next steps and updating the opportunity of what's going to happen next in that opportunity. And I hear this all the time from AEs and also managers in particular around frustrations of this field and a bunch of different things. For example, it not being uniform across AEs. Every AE is updating that field in a different way. And so they really want uniformity when it comes to next steps. They either don't know when that next step was updated last, right? Did they update that next step 3 months ago? When was the last time they updated that next step? And also, when is that next step? Is that next step in a month, right? Having it written out in the next step field is hard for you to organize within a report. And then also they've either lost all their previous next steps or they build it out in one field and so that they see a ton of next steps, which isn't really as helpful when it comes to reporting and pulling in a text field alongside opportunities as you're going down in a forecast review, for example. And you just want to see, hey, what is the true next step, not the 10 previous next steps. So today we're going to dive into next steps in Salesforce in a definitive way of making that as simple and as streamlined as possible. All right, diving into it. And I'm learning this YouTube thing. And so in my last video, I'm sure no one could see the Salesforce page. It was way too small. So we're zooming in a little bit, getting up close and personal with these fields. So the first fields I want to go through is the next step field. This field is exactly what it sounds like. It is for adding your next step. So for example, the next step of this opportunity could be demo with Jim. Of course, that's not as long as you normally should have this next step be, but for this YouTube video, we're gonna rock with that. That is our next step field. Hit save. This field populates a few different fields on this opportunity object. The first is gonna be your next step list. So this field is to list out all the next steps that you've ever entered into Salesforce. It is uniform in a way that shows the date and the time. And so you are able to, for every single rep, keep a standardization there when it comes to your next step list. It also updates your next step change date, right? So that you are able to see, hey, pull the opportunities that have a stage duration of at least 2 weeks, and let me see what the next step change date was. So I can see, hey, what opportunities we probably need to dive deeper into, and I as a manager can potentially help that rep move forward in some way. And then there's the next step date, right? So when is that demo with that person? And I definitely would have a validation rule when you create an opportunity to have that next step date always be updated in Salesforce. So we'll put our next step date in as 10/9. And just like that, we have a really robust way of understanding and reporting on the next step on an opportunity. And so when you are running a report, very easy to say, hey, show me all the opportunities with next steps this week. And then as I am going through and adding new next steps, for example, the demo's been completed. Something simple like this. Hit save. You're gonna see that next step stacks on top of the previous next steps. So you're going to have a date and timestamp of that next step right above your previous next step. And they're just going to keep on being listed on top of each other. So you'll never lose access to those next steps, and you'll understand a time frame of when those next steps were updated. Now, when it comes to leveraging this in a report as a manager, we'll just jump into a quick opportunities list view. These are my opportunities. I'm still in the infancy stage of building out my Salesforce org, so we only have a few opportunities here to look at. But if I was a manager, I could run a report for all of my account executives. I could group it by account executive and then make a filter around Show me the opportunities with next steps this week. Or show me the opportunities that don't have next steps for the next month, where I need to start to maybe put some pressure on the account executive to figure out like what we're going to do with that account. And you'll see here we have that next step field, the next step date. So when is that next step? And then when that next step was changed. And you can imagine these fields being used in a ton of different ways in conjunction with other fields, on reports, on dashboards, using this alongside of fields like stage durations. How many opportunities do we have that have a stage duration of over a month that have also had no next step changes in the last 2 weeks, really showing stale pipeline, or opportunities in certain stages that haven't had next step change dates in a while. Close dates that are coming up in the next couple of weeks or before the end of the quarter where there hasn't been a next step change date recently, or there also isn't a next step before that close date. You can use this in a ton of different ways. Okay, well, hopefully you found that helpful. For me, I think that that's a really easy way of organizing Salesforce in a way that allows AEs to quickly enter in next steps in a uniform way, have those next steps aggregated, and have date fields that are really empowering the manager automatically update. So it's quick for the AE and gives the managers all the insight that they need, and also account executives, right? It's really helpful to be able to say, hey, show me a report of all the opportunities that I have next steps with this week. Show me all the opportunities I have next steps with, this month. Whatever it is that helps you. I think that this field gives you the flexibility in order to do that. And so again, going back to the core value of RevOps Bennett, we're just trying to empower account executives and also BDRs, managers, to save time and streamline their workflows. And hopefully this is one step in that direction for your Salesforce org. And if you're an admin looking to implement this solution and you want to understand how to build up the automation through Salesforce flows, I'd be more than happy to dive deeper into that in another video. So please comment in the comment section if that's something that's interesting to you. I really appreciate it. Thanks again for watching episode number 2. Take care. Bye, Mom.